Hello. This recording is to talk about my expectations for our next assignment, Module 12. All right, I'm starting right here because I want you to see that you only need to do one or the other. You don't need to do both scenarios. One scenario is for an elementary student, and the other scenario is for a secondary student. So choose one or the other. And when you click on the scenarios, the second paragraph is the same for each. So what you turn in will be the exact same, but you'll base it off a different student. All right, so let's talk about Ethan. Ethan is a 7-year-old second grader. You are his teacher. You are preparing for parent-teacher conferences. And you note that Ethan has a tendency to call out his answers without raising his hand and disrupts class by making jokes. You have decided to address these behaviors by tracking them and designing an intervention plan. In order to involve his parents in the process, you decide to discuss procedures with them at the conference. You begin by explaining the function of Ethan's two challenging behaviors, calling out and disrupting class. When you describe how you want to track these behaviors in order to determine their frequency and any classroom circumstances that may be contributing to these behaviors, finally, you describe some intervention strategies that might be useful in describing these behaviors in your classroom and ask for their feedback. Okay, so to do all of that, I've created a little paragraph here that will help you outline everything you need to address for this assignment. So prepare an outline that you will present at the parent-teacher conference. First, describe the possible reasons behind Ethan's tendencies to call out and disrupt class. And I posted table 11.2 for you in the module. So, why is Ethan calling out? Is he calling out because he wants attention? Or is he calling out to avoid work? Or is he calling out because he wants power? Or is he just doing it for fun? Okay. Is he disrupting class and making jokes because he wants peer attention? Does he want teacher attention? Is he doing it for power, for fun? So list the possible reasons behind Ethan's behaviors. And here are the possible reasons. All right. So going back to the scenario, next, you'll need to select, list, discuss a tracking method for collecting data on his calling out and disrupting class behavior. So the tracking methods that I encourage you to select from are on page 292 and 293. You could do event recording, meaning you track the number of times he does these behaviors all day long, or you could do time sampling and pick a time of the day and see if the percentage of time he is on task compared to a peer. And those examples are on page 292, 293. Then C, explain how will you use it in the classroom. Are you gonna have it on a clipboard, a piece of paper, event recording form on a clipboard, and literally mark down how often it happens all day long? Or are you gonna possibly have your paraprofessional observe and track that behavior all day long? Just how are you gonna collect this data in your classroom? What do you think is feasible in your classroom? Or you might decide to focus on subject and do time sampling. And at the end of every minute during a certain lesson, you look at Ethan and see if he's on task or off task, and then you mark whether he's on task or off task. And an example of that is on page 293. How will you do that and still teach the class, though? So kind of discuss how you would collect the data and still teach your class. And that's C. So we got A, B, and C. Then D, what intervention strategies are you going to potentially use to decrease Ethan's negative behaviors? So he's not he's calling out answers without raising his hand, and he's disrupting the class by making jokes. So what intervention strategies are you going to do to teach him or motivate him to follow your rules? And examples are on page 299, table 11.6. Are you going to have reinforcers? Are you going to have a reinforcement system, such as a token economy? There's an example of that's in the chapter. Are you going to have possibly some extinction options or response cost options? And this is all on page 299. I encourage you to always start with positive strategies, meaning a positive reinforcement schedule. And, if you decide to do a token economy and give out money or tokens and things like that, and he does forget to raise his hand, then you could do subtracting reinforcer and take away possibly some money or one of the tickets. So brainstorm. Obviously, you won't be really brainstorming with the parents, but list 2 intervention strategies that you could potentially use. Okay, and then last but not least, describe how you would implement them in your classroom. So are you going to have possibly an individual behavior contract with Ethan, and then you have him check in with you at the end of the day, and you reflect on the day? Or are you going to have a token economy and have the same rules and scheduling and procedures for the whole class, and use a positive reinforcement system for not only Ethan, but the whole class? I definitely encourage something like that. Having a group contingency like that it's a win-win. It can help you manage the whole class and inspire Ethan to, raise his hand and stop disrupting the class. So he obviously likes to make jokes. I also encourage you to possibly give him opportunities to joke with his peers. So that could be a potential intervention option. And how would you implement that in your class? Well, giving students time to share. If you gave everyone time to share, obviously when Ethan shares, he might want to share his joke of the day or something like that. And so, giving him the same consequence, he possibly really enjoys attention from his peers. And if that's what he really enjoys, then give him opportunities to get attention from his peers, but the right way. All right. I went through that pretty quickly. Like I said a little bit earlier, this paragraph is the exact same. It's just 2 different students, and so I'm assuming maybe your intervention strategies might be different at the elementary setting versus the high school setting, but gosh, the examples I kind of talked about, I think could be implemented at either setting. All right, let me know if you have any questions.